Showed up. Thank goodness, because I don't know what I was going to do without you. Carrie's not around today. She's not feeling well. She has something going on with her eye, I think, and her throat. So that's unfortunate. So I thought I would make a backpack show for you today, if you want that sort of a thing. I've got a bunch of different topics for you, and one of them I'm stealing from my pal and sometimes collaborator Rob Hatch. But yeah, let's I don't know, let's make a show, shall we?
Hi everyone, Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to The Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Kerry Gargone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show. Hello, how are you? I was just reading my dad's text. So first off, hello to my dad, to my mom. Hello, how are you both? And also look at that. Hello to everybody. Hi, Chloe. Hi, Leslie. Good to see you. Sorry we missed you last week, Leslie. You know, that sort of thing can happen. Welcome on board. Like I said, Carrie's under the weather, so she's not going to be here unless she's Carrie in the comments, which I would be lucky if she were. Before we get going, let me just remind you, boop, we're sponsored. We have one sponsor right now, although I kind of messed up another sponsor. We have a sponsor, StreamYard. You can make your own show like this. You could do so much better. You can actually do the right thing you're supposed to do with your sponsor and not mess it up and have to throw it in the trash. Make your own show. cbrogan.net/StreamYard. I had a topic in mind, but I'm also open for your topics because look, if I'm solo, if my guest has quit, if my co-host is down with, eye damage or whatever she's got going on, it's just us, right? So we can jam. We can make this show whatever today. But the topic I was going to say is today's the 2nd of February. It is Groundhog Day. And like the movie, not the actual Groundhog Day, it's a movie where Bill Murray wakes up over and over and over and over and over again on the same day and has to kind of like look at his life differently. I have a theme. Rob Hatch had a really great newsletter this past Thursday, or yesterday, I guess, in which he said, hey, a lot of people absolutely fail their resolution in the New Year's resolution. My information says by the 19th. I think he had a slightly different number, but you fail it pretty quick in January. You say, I'm going to do all these new things, and you start with all your intentions, and then you throw them right away really fast. I wanted to talk to you about yours and see how you're doing with the things you swore you were going to do differently this year. I want to talk to you about your 3 words. I want to talk to you about whether or not you're even checking in with your 3 words every single day, some ideas around that. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how journaling can help with this and any other topics that you come up with. So it's going to be sort of a self-improvement conversation today. So if that's interesting to you, then you're in the right place. If it's not, hang up already quick. Go do some other stuff. You got things to do. You can't waste your time listening to this weirdo just because I'm good looking. I mean, that's not enough. That's not going to keep you here. So let's start with things you resolved to do. I'm not a big New Year's resolutions kind of person, and I'll tell you why. I find that if we resolve to do something every day, it usually kind of falls into the background super fast. I also think that a resolution almost always kind of means that we're not quite we're not committing to it as such. A resolution still feels like it's on the outside. Do you know what I mean when I say that? Like we say we're going to do something, but it's almost in our should box. And as you know, if you've known me for even a week, should means won't, right? So I'll tell you a way that I kind of did this differently this year after I see what Dorothy Ann said. Yes, I love my 3 words concept. Me too. Jesse Itzler, who wrote an incredible book called Living with a Seal, and then he has another one about being with some monks and a couple other things. I forget what. Jesse Itzler had this idea, and I stole his, which was commit to one new good habit every quarter. So you go January through March, adding a new habit, and by then you probably kind of got that habit locked in, and then you go on to the next one, April, May, June, right? So my habit that I picked for the beginning of the year is so boring, so basic. I picked flossing. Now, I brush my teeth. I use mouthwash and all that sort of thing, but I do not floss until like usually the 2 or 3 days before I go to the dentist. And then when I do that, I think maybe I'll floss a little, and I kind of don't. And then they make my face into a horrible mess. It's terrible. So I have been flossing every single day with these little floss picky things. I've done it every single day since the start of the month. I've stuck with it. The one day I missed, I like ran over and did it kind of later in the day, which still counted. In fact, it was probably better. And that's it. That was my habit. Now, as far as resolutions go, you know I don't make them. I do my 3 words. And my 3 words are Fusion, Apps, and Pulse. Fusion, I'm going to commit to far more learning. Apps, I'm going to build sort of repeatable processes like my action stacks. Pulse, I'm going to review on a much more regular cadence, review how things are going and kind of keep the gauges up so that I know what's happening. And let's talk about how those are after I look at some more comments. Hey, Elizabeth, good to see you. I'm on your TV. Yep, flossing is a pretty good one. Dorothy Ann says, my dentist recommended to floss first and then brush. Oh, you know what? That kind of makes sense if you think about it. I mean, not to be gross, but you get the stuff out from behind everything and then you brush it out. I'm going to have to change my whole setup now. Hi, Dean. How are you? Well, thank you for your dental assistance. So just FYI, the storyline on my 3 words, first one was Fusion. It's learn more apps, kind of make repeatable process. Pulse, with the Pulse, make sure that you're every adding some frequency to reviews. One of the things I do in Pulse is in my written journal. I was just freaking out because I was like, what page? I thought it was on the right page. In my written journal, every single week I do a review in which I look back at the last 7 days and see anything notable from those 7 days that I want to add and make it work out. So I've been doing that every single Friday for my weekly review. I've been doing monthly reviews as well. So we just rolled the month over and it's been helping. And one of the things I have appreciated about it is when I go back to looking at all the reviews, which I did on my monthly review, I went, oh, well, that's interesting. I'm seeing some themes. And this is where it gets interesting, right? Like once we have some data, then it gets interesting because that's when things like journaling and all this start to really mean something to us. That's when you go, oh, wow, I can see a trend here. And once you see a trend, then you can understand how to do something better or worse with it. And that's everything. It's at work, I've been doing a lot more data work. Our company has really come into understanding how to apply data, asking better questions with it and all that. And we ask a lot of questions sort of like, well, how often does this happen? Or when we make this decision, do we have any sense of how the results are? And can we measure that in any particular way? And that's pretty useful. I've set off an entire flossing conversation on the Backpack Show today. Floss picks are okay, but they damage your gums. You could use regular flossing, a water pick, etc. Yes, except I'm not doing that when I do it. Like I find myself buying regular old floss and then it just sits in the box. With the picks, all I do a little differently is I just sort of make sure I follow the rules of flossing where you go along the sides of your teeth and not try to cut your gums in half. No, you're totally right. You could damage them for sure. But another thought on the same topic, and that's kind of why we started with me talking about flossing. I have found that when you work towards a goal, it is not as repeatable. It is not as useful as working towards implementing and instilling a habit with progress. I'll give you an example. I decided once in 2003, I made the decision, I didn't do it till 2004, to run and complete a trail marathon, 26.2 miles, but in trail terrain instead of on the street, because it's better for big fat people with bad knees. So I started running in August of 2003, and all I could manage was I could run from one foam pole to the second foam pole, and that wasn't all that super great. And then I got to the point where I could start to get up to a 5K, and then I started doing 5 miles, and then I started doing 10Ks, and et cetera, until I got to the marathon. Well, guess what I did after I completed the marathon? I ran maybe 7 or 8 more miles, and then that was the end of the storyline there. It was done. I was all done running my miles. So just FYI, one problem or one opportunity that comes up when you work towards a goal, once you hit the goal, you might sort of fall off of your habit. So I don't regret it. I had a fun time. I was thrilled that I completed. I got my 26.2 miles, but I guess I also wish that I could have kept up that running habit. Could I do it again? Yes, I could. Have I yet? Not a chance. Carrie points out that I can't really tell my dad, you're not my real dad, because, that's what I do when I'm trying to protest something like this. And there's Carrie in the comments. She's right. It must be Friday. So I'm curious to know what, if any, of your habits or resolutions or my 3 words have you held on to, which have fallen on the wayside, which need a sprucing up, because that's going to be the next thing we're talking about, which relates to Rob Hatch's letter. Throw something in the comments. Let me know how you're doing with my 3 words. This better be an interactive show. I'm not doing this to talk to myself. I talk to myself all day. All day I talk to myself. I mumble as I walk around. I ask myself questions. I practice my other really big habit, which is saying nicer things about myself. So when I suddenly can't find my cell phone anywhere, I walk around and I say, you're really good at this. You're smart. I bet you'll find that cell phone in seconds. Because what I used to say was really mean things about myself for losing my cell phone. So I am definitely doing a lot of practice on my habits. But if you don't comment, then I don't have anything to bounce off, and it's going to be a much shorter show. So Rob Hatch's post was basically this. We all fall off somewhere around the 19th of January or so. What if we just restart again at the start of every month? What if every start of every month is a reset and we go, okay, I'm back at it. Here's my habit. You might start to pick on yourself. You might start to say, oh man, I can't get over this. I'm getting really frustrated. I keep saying I'm going to do the thing and then I don't do the thing and I have to get back to the first of the month. Or again, in the sort of vein of working on better self-talk, you could say, congratulations. I made it to another first day of a month. I'm starting again. Here I go. And you could do it and you could do it and you could do it until things really do click in for you. A lot of times it clicks in. A lot of times it takes a bunch of shots and then you click in. So there's a lot of opportunity there to consider. All right. Leslie says, I have been doing great with my 3 words. Moving every day, no matter what activity, allowing some extra rest and downtime, guilt-free. Nice. And next blood donation on the 12th. That's awesome. What a way to keep honoring that. That is so super good. Have you ever walked around for 5 minutes looking for your phone and then realized that it's in your hand? No, never once. My pockets all the time. Build, serve, and grow. Well, how are you keeping with those, Dorothy Ann? What's the current scoop on that? Are you building? Are you serving? How's your growth? What's next? What's my habit for Q2? I don't know just yet. I don't know. I'm thinking I have to up my ante from flossing, because I pretty much nailed that one. But I think that it's got to be something, probably has to do something with movement or going outside or, taking care of my body in some way. Dorothy Ann has an interesting point. She says, so my 3 words are build, serve, and grow. What's crazy is I keep hearing these in every video I watch. Well, if you're anywhere in the marketing space, people talk about growth more than they talk about anything else anymore, because marketing is kind of going through a negative sync right now. The other thing is build and serve. I mean, serve is great. Maybe if you go for some, maybe if you watch food videos or something like that, and then build, I think it's great. My dad still hasn't chosen his 3 words, but maybe Groundhog Day is the day. Maybe today's a great day. And you have a son who knows a little bit about my 3 words exercise and has since 2006 done this. So if you want help, I'm always good at helping people kind of nail them down. And I think it's you listen, this myth that we walk around, can't find our phone, and we're actually using the flashlight on our phone to find it, I think that's baloney and it must be stopped. I think we should kind of ignore that that's even a thing. Chloe says, I think I've done well with my personal goals mixed with business, but the effort was there. I really used to keep a video diary and I didn't do that in January. I want to start that again. I'll get that figured out. And yes, you're a real son. I see how you're being over there, Carrie, in the comments. Get well soon. Hi, Ruby. Ruby's 3 words were ease, success, and thankful. Are you and is everybody tuning into your 3 words every single day? How are you doing it? In my case, I write them on my journal every single day. Every single day I write at the upper left-hand corner across from the date, I write Fusion, Apps, and Pulse, so that I always have them right in front of me and I always have to think about them. So I think it's definitely worth checking out. Elizabeth says hers are joy, resilience, and growth. Talking kinder to myself daily too. My sales coach says you can always restart every Monday. Monday is a great restart. So we talked about restarting on the first of the month. I like that idea. Why not do it every single Monday as well? I think it's big. Yes, Carrie says I also practice my 3 words, and that is true. Sometimes they're much more necessary. And let's see, I watch a lot of Myron Golden. He teaches a lot on building a business with biblical principles. I found him after I picked my words. Very interesting. Yeah, the thing is, we a lot of times pick on ourselves. A lot of times we sort of put ourselves down for not being super successful, but we also don't use the easy step tools to get ourselves forward. Like we'll be like, man, I can't believe I don't eat healthy. And then you don't like order healthy food, to get delivered to your house, or you don't go grocery shopping for healthy food. I haven't walked into a grocery store willingly in as long as I can remember, except for occasional spot pickups. But I have not gotten my weekly groceries in 100 million years. The other thing is that I think once you have, you basically are looking around for excuse removal systems. Rob Hatch, again, put success in your way. It's super important. It's a super important way to do it. All right. So Carrie's saying, how about we mash up the backpack show with your next good habit and we'll do it walking. I mean, it's a possibility. At least it'll be April by then, so I won't freeze my cojones off like I did on someone's birthday episode in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Really fun episode, super fun. And I really loved the going around and doing all the adventures. We'll have to test out those mics. We'll have to test out those lav mics that we have for iPod or whatever it is. So iPhone. All right, quit it. I have my 3 words on my vision board and I look at it every day. What are your thoughts on vision boards? I think vision boards are great. I think manifesting is great. I think everything that can kind of put your positive energy forward is important. I do think all the time about, there's that joke, and it's basically, there's a few different versions of the joke. And one of them is like, dear God, let me win the lottery. Please let me win the lottery. And then finally God shows up and says, well, why don't you buy a damn ticket? Like, you're going to have a harder time winning the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. The other version is the person on floods coming. So they get on the roof of their house and a boat comes by and says, hey, get in. No, thanks. I'm waiting for God. Huh, okay. And then a helicopter comes by and says, why don't you get in? No, thanks. I'm waiting for God. And then the waters are just over the roof. This person's treading water. Someone else comes along and says, hey, I can help you. No, thanks. I'm waiting for God. And the guy drowns. And when he finally gets up to heaven, he's like, hey, God, how come you didn't save me? He goes, what do you think? I sent you a boat, a helicopter. We have to help ourselves, right? And I think vision boards work that way. I think vision boards are a great way to remind us to move towards something and allow those things to be a possibility. I think the other thing with vision boards is that they also give us a nice way to envision positive and good things in our life, as opposed to subjecting ourselves to awful things. I am less and less and less connected to social media. Found myself locked out of my own Twitter today, so guess I won't be tweeting for a little while. I really definitely think that there's no negatives to that. I haven't been on Twitter actively in 100 million years, except for to say, come and look at my LinkedIn stuff. I think I'm doing a lot to keep myself away from a lot of negative information in the world. Don't need it. It's not impacting my life. Should I feel bad about certain places of the world? Sure, I do. Can I fix them? Nope. So I'm just going to work on the stuff I can work on. I've got enough on my own plate. Ruby, you say, I have been walking 5 days a week and I love it. It's ease has been coming up when I remind myself to chill out and pray and show up. You know it. So absolutely so. Well, that's that on that. So anyway, the idea, restart every single Monday, restart every single first of the month. Make sure you have that in your mind. I had a dream one time. And in the dream, it's a very simple dream, but in the dream, this spiritual being, I don't know what it was, something sort of an Indian, Hindu kind of faith, basically was saying to me over and over again, day one. So he was chanting to me. He was saying day one, day one, day one, day one. And he was basically every day is day one. And I really took that to heart. That was like, I don't know, 2015, 2016, something like that. And when I think about that, it reminds me that if we falter, we can just keep going. I think it was Professor Anthony Kiedis who said, complete the motion if you stumble. I think that's what he was getting at, that we can move ourselves towards that sort of a thing. All right. Well, we're getting close enough to the end of the show that I can make it sound viable that I end at a show. So.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
Ruby. Haven't had Ruby around for a while. Good to see you. Everybody also happy to talk to Dorothy Ann, who I haven't had on the show, and all kinds of other people who showed up. Chloe and everybody. My parents, of course. Leslie. So thrilled. Elizabeth was here. I guess I'm on a giant TV. So everybody, thanks for showing up and being here. Let's see. What else do I have to do? Backpack show. Yeah. What am I going to put in my backpack? I'm putting my beads in. My mom made these beads for me a while ago, and they're just tied beads. They're meditation beads. 108. What's kind of interesting is that in mala beads, you get 108, and in most rosaries, you get 108. So there you go. That is my thing I'm putting in there because it reminds me to breathe. It reminds me to meditate. And it's also a great fidget toy for when you are the kind of person who sometimes needs a fidget toy. So that's all I got for you. An extra credit for Carrie for showing up when she was sick, no less.